The Maelstrom Hunter by Crimson QB Sage, Chapter 20, Extracurricular. 3 days later. That is all for today. And remember, the dance is this weekend, but you all have your first mission on Monday. I will not take any excuses, Glinda stated as the bell rang, indicating the end of the school day. Sakura and Sasuke watched Naruto and his team file out, chatting alongside Team Ruby. We're gonna have to face him sooner or later, Sakura said. I'm just dreading the moment, Sasuke said as the duo exited the classroom. Outside the classroom, Sun stood with the rest of his team, which consisted of Neptune and two other men. The first consisted of a man with red hair that came down over his right eye, with the left side of his head being shaved. There were a number of red markings around his left eye. He wore a green earring on his left ear and had a red coat draped over his left side. On his right hand, he wore a fingerless glove, and on his right bicep, he had a gray band. He wore a white sleeveless shirt and light gray pants. He also wore a pair of long brown laced boots. Around his waist, he wore a slightly slanted gray belt. The second person was a teenage boy with dark skin and yellow eyes. His hair was also sage green, and he appeared to have tattoos on his chest and around his neck. He wore a white and green asymmetrical long coat with his chest completely bare under it. His jacket also had a golden pauldron on his right shoulder and a golden cuff around his left wrist. He also wore a pair of dark pants and a yellow belt. Hey Blake, Sun said as he saw said Cat Faunus. You doing okay? I'm fine, Blake said, shutting her book that she was reading. So I hear that there's this dance coming on this weekend, and it sounds pretty lame, but you and me, I'm thinking, not as lame, huh? Sun said. What? Blake asked. The dance this weekend. You want to go, or what? Sun asked. I don't have time for a stupid dance. I thought you of all people would get that, Blake stated, walking away past her team as Sun sunk from his rejection. With Team Archfiend. Miso, Naruto exclaimed. Beef, Roshi argued. Chicken, Han stated. Shrimp, Fu added. I'm telling you guys, miso is the best kind of ramen there is, Naruto stated, as if the best kind of ramen is beef, Roshi retorted. You're both wrong. It's chicken ramen, Han stated. Boys, please. The best kind of ramen is shrimp ramen, Fu stated. This argument somehow carried on the rest of the way back to their dorm. When they finally got back to their dorm room, things simmered down as the war got settled in. It was about half an hour later that this peace was disturbed. Naruto was just about finishing the last of his homework. Yes, he has homework. It's still a school that he goes to, when a lone kunai flew through the open window of the room. Attached to the kunai appeared to be a dangling dark blue cloth. Curiosity got the better of Naruto as he approached the weapon that was embedded in the wall. The rest of his team watched cautiously, grabbing the dark blue cloth. Naruto flipped it over and froze. What is it, Naruto? Fu asked. It's nothing, Naruto quickly said, pocketing the kunai and the cloth and closing the window. After doing so, Naruto went to the door. I'll be back in a bit. Classroom 4C, West Wing, Beacon Academy. Naruto walked into the dimly lit classroom, holding the same dark blue cloth from before in his hands. Getting a better look at it, the dark blue cloth had a metal plate sewn on the other side, and etched into the metal plate was a familiar leaf-like symbol. The door closed behind him as Naruto walked into the center of the room, his hair overshadowing his eyes as he looked down. I certainly didn't expect to see you here, Teme, Naruto said. But after seeing Ino, Shikamaru, and Choji, I knew that we would eventually encounter one another. Sasuke said, stepping out of the shadows and to confront his ex-teammate. There's someone else here with us, isn't there? Naruto stated. The moment he did so, Sakura stepped out of the windows. Ha! All we need is Kakashi-sensei, and we have ourselves a Team 7 reunion. Naruto, Sakura said. Save it, Sakura, Naruto said, causing Sakura to wince slightly at his tone. There's nothing you or the Teme can do that will ever make me go back to Konoha. I'm not here about that, Naruto, Sasuke said. Then why are you here, Teme? Naruto asked. I want to thank you, Sasuke stated. Can you run that by me again? Naruto asked. I said I want to thank you for saving me from falling into the darkness, Sasuke said. How painful was it for you to admit that? Naruto questioned. I admitted this very begrudgingly, Sasuke replied. Still the same brooding and duck-haired Teme, I see. Naruto smiled before frowning slightly. But just because you admitted that does not mean that you or Sakura are forgiven. He started walking towards the door. Naruto, wait, Sakura exclaimed. No, I'm done talking to you two. Now, if you excuse me, Naruto started halfway through the doorway. I have somewhere I need to be. And with that, he slammed the door shut, leaving the two Konoha shinobi to bask in the silence that permeated the room. Team Ruby's dorm room. You what? Blake questioned. We want you to go to the dance, Ruby stated. That's ridiculous, Blake stated. Blake, we're worried about you. This investigation is starting to mess with your head. Yang said, I can't sleep. You can't sleep. You hardly eat. And to be honest, your grades have been suffering, Weiss said, counting the facts on her fingers. You think I care about grades? Blake questioned, shrugging her shoulders and gesturing out the window. People's lives are at stake, we know, and we're also trying to figure out what Torchwick is up to, Yang said, placing her hand on Blake's as she lowered it. Thanks to you and Son, we know that they're operating somewhere outside of Southeast Vale, Ruby stated, and the Schnee Company record in signaled out Vale as the primary target for dusk robberies over the last few months, Weiss added. Don't forget about their missing military tech too, Yang stated, but there's still unanswered questions, Blake exclaimed. Blake, you won't be able to find anything if you can't even keep your eyes open, Ruby stated. All we're asking is that you take it easy for one day, Yang said. It'll be fun, Yang, and I will make sure of it, Weiss stated. Yeah, we're planning the whole event, Yang exclaimed, pumping her fist, which caused the bed to bounce. So Blake, excuse me, Blake questioned. Team Coffee's Away mission lasted quite longer than expected, Weiss said. So Weiss and I decided to pick up where they left off, and now we can make sure you can have the perfect night, Yang said. And once it's all over, we'll return to our search, rest and ready, Weiss stated. So what do you think? Ruby asked. I think this is a colossal waste of time, Blake said, walking away from the group and opening the dorm room. I'll be in the library, she said before walking out the doorway. Great, Yang said. She can't keep going on like this, Weiss said before the conversation could continue. There was a knock at the door. Weiss approached the door and opened it to find John at the door with the guitar. Weiss, John sang. Weiss slammed the door in his face before he could continue. Oh, come on. Open the door. I promise not to sing. Weiss opened the door. I lied. Weiss Schnee. Will you accompany me to dance on Sunday? Are you done? Weiss asked. Yes, John shrugged. No, Weiss said, shutting the door in his face. Turning around, she saw the others staring at her. What? Both Yang and Ruby stood precariously. And that is why they call you the Ice Queen, Yang said before Ruby finally collapsed. All my life, boys have only cared about the perks of my last name. Besides, I already have a date in mind, Weiss stated. A date or no date, none of this will matter if we can't get Blake to go, Ruby stated. Suddenly there was a knocking sound coming from the window. Ruby hesitantly approached the window and opened it to find Naruto standing outside, a large grin on his face. Hey Ruby, can I talk to you for a moment? Naruto asked before pulling Ruby out the window with him, closing said window as he did so. As he stuck to the wall using chakra, the two young students realized just how close they were and blushed slightly at the close proximity. Naruto coughed before walking up the side of the wall, placing Ruby on her feet as soon as they got up to the rooftop. So, what do you need to talk to me about? Ruby asked, bouncing on her feet slightly as she crossed her hands behind her back. Well, there's this dance that's coming up on Sunday, Naruto stated. And Ruby questioned, hoping that what she thought he was going to say was what he would say. And well, I was thinking, Naruto said, scratching the back of his neck. Yeah, Ruby said. Do you want to go to the dance together? Naruto asked shyly. Yes, yeah, sure. Ruby said mentally she was leaping with joy that he asked her to. Does that mean we're, together? Well, do you want to be together? Naruto asked. Yes, Ruby said. The moment she did so, the two shared a long kiss, both melting into the embrace of the other, neither of them knowing who initiated the kiss, only that their crush had finally accepted their feelings. When they eventually broke the kiss, Naruto and Ruby both smiled and stayed in the embrace they were in. No orange suit, Ruby said playfully, causing Naruto to pout childish. Orange tie? Naruto asked. Deal, Ruby conceded, picking the lesser of two evils. Having reached the compromise, Naruto perked up and grinned before picking Ruby up, bridal style, and jumping off the roof with a chakra hands jump, causing Ruby to let out a yelp in surprise. Naruto's grin grew wider before he landed on a nearby tree branch, pausing for half a second before jumping over to the window he grabbed his girlfriend from. Opening it up with a kick, Naruto placed Ruby inside on her feet before giving her a chaste kiss on the lips and leaping out the window. Ruby watched him leave with a smile on her face before she felt an eerie feeling. Turning to her sister, Ruby gulped as she saw Yang having a certain look on her face, one that screamed, I am going to tease the crap out of you. With John, Pyrrha, and Naruto later that day, That night, Naruto and John sparred in the middle of the Emerald Forest, Pira acting as a referee. John ducked under a swipe from Naruto's Kubikiri Bocho and came up with a slash from Crusader Moors, only for that to be blocked as by Naruto's Tonto, which he held in a reverse grip. Naruto swung Kubikiri Bocho once more. John strafed backwards and tried to go on the defensive, only to have to dodge another slash from the massive blade. This pattern continued for half a minute before John took a wrong step and fell flat on his back. As he got up, using his hands to support him, John saw Kurikari Bocho a mere centimeters away from his face. He stared at the large cleaver with slightly wide eyes before it retracted from its close proximity to his face. Replacing Kurikari Bocho was an extended hand. Well done. Your sword's play improved immensely, Power said as Naruto helped John to his feet. You certainly have been getting better in the last few sessions, Naruto stated. I couldn't have done it without you guys, John said gratefully. A small burning sensation was felt across his cheek. He placed his hand to the source and saw that his hand was covered in a small amount of blood. Can you go get some bandages for John, Pira? Naruto asked, getting a nod from Pira before she left. As soon as she did, Naruto turned back to John. Something's off with you. You seem a bit unfocused. It's dumb, John said. What is it? Naruto asked. It's Weiss, Naruto said. What about her? Naruto questioned. I asked her to dance and she shot me down, John said, giggling half-heartedly. Big surprise, right? There's plenty of fish in the sea, Naruto said, patting John on the back. Besides, Power seems like she's got a thing for you. Pira, I don't think she likes me like that, John stated. How about a friendly wager then? Naruto asked. You ask Pira to go to the dance with you, and if she says yes, you have to wear a dress. All right, you got a deal. You got yourself a deal, John said, shaking Naruto's hand. And if she says no, you have to wear a dress. Wait, Naruto said, we need to make this a gentleman's bet. I'm back, Pira said, coming back with a bandage. Great, Pira. Can you come over here for a second? We need to make a gentleman's bet official, Naruto said. Say no more, I understand, Pira said, placing her hand on the frozen handshake between the two blondes. A gentleman's bet. Huzzah! Naruto and John exclaimed, with Cinder, Emerald, and Mercury. And finally, Pira Nikos, Emerald stated. The invincible girl, Cinder said. She's smart, but I wouldn't say invincible, Mercury stated. Do tell, Cinder said. Her semblance is polarity, but you'd never know it by, Emerald said, but started coughing violently. Cinder and Mercury rushed up to her side, concern riddled on both of their faces. Are you alright, Emerald? Mercury asked. I'm fine. It's just acting up again, Emerald said as she was pushed onto the bed by Cinder. Strange black symbols started appearing on her stomach as she coughed violently again. Cinder looked at Mercury, who nodded his head at the silent command as he rushed to one of the nearby cabinets and opened it up, revealing at least a dozen or so paper tags. Grabbing one of said tags, Mercury quickly handed it to Cinder. Said woman placing the tag on Emerald's stomach. 10 seconds later, the tag started burning up at the same time. The black symbols began to fade until they were all gone. The moment the tag disintegrated, a sigh of relief escaped Cinder's lips as she looked at Emerald, who had fallen into a peaceful slumber. It has been acting up more frequently as of late, Mercury said with concern. I know that. We're also running low on those tags as well, Cinder stated. Emerald had something that acted up every now and then. At first it would be months at a time before another incident happened, but what was once 7 to 11 months at a time slowly became 5 to 6, then 2 to 3, and now it was becoming a monthly thing. It would only be a matter of time before it would turn into weeks, or even worse, days at a time. What are we going to do? She asked worriedly. Silence overtook the group before minutes passed. Suddenly, Mercury perked up. I got it, Mercury said. What is it? Cinder asked. Remember the name of the guy who made the tags for us? Mercury questioned. It was Harold, no, Harun Uzumaki, that was it, Cinder said in recollection. Well, there just so happens to be a student here that goes by the name Naruto Uzumaki, Mercury stated, catching Cinder's attention. Maybe he's somehow related to Harun? It's the only hope we have, Cinder said before looking back to Emerald with worry. Side story start. The Red Monkey trailer. Shnida's company factory 073353 production floor. Factory was near quiet, save for the humming sound of the lights hanging above and the clatter of machinery. A midnight storm raged on outside the factory as a swift movement was seen in the shadows, constantly avoiding the light. The robotic defensive guards that patrolled the factory ignored the disturbance, making it out to be be just the wind before going back to guarding the area. Play Lucifer by Jay-Z. As soon as the nearest robot turned around the corner, the same shadow from before approached the nearby crate. Despite the dim lighting, the shadowy figure was seen. It was a red-haired monkey faunus wearing a red high-collared sleeveless shirt, over which he wore a brown shoulder pad on his left shoulder with half a dark brown cloak covering his left arm. His hybrid pistol knives were sheathed along his waist, the holster strapped to two black crooked crossed belts. He also wore black cargo pants with multiple pockets, black steel-toed boots, black fingerless gloves, and a dark red mask to complete his outfit. This was Roshi Yamasaru Roku, Jinchuriki of the Yanbi Sankoku. Roshi mumbled to himself, rubbing his hands together before opening the crate in front of him. Inside the crate was various fire-dusted items, ranging from crystals to bullets. Jackpot! Before he could proceed to make off with the crate, an alarm sound was heard. Literally, an alarm went off that caught Roshi's attention. Intruders detected in Sector 27D, a robotic voice exclaimed. Soon enough, Roshi saw one of those fancy robots pointing its gun arms at him. Identify yourself. Roshi said, going into a thinking position before snapping his fingers. How about... No, he was gone long before the bullets flew by where he once was. Oh, only this time the robots were able to track him. Roshi jumped atop the large piles of crates, weaving in and out of various incoming bullets. One of the robots jumped up onto the crates, replacing its arm with two blades and charging at Roshi. Said red-haired faunus kept on running, pulling out the two kunai knives sheathed at his waist and slashing at the robot, leaving an X-shaped scar, while Roshi jumped ahead as the robot fell apart at the slash marks. Alerting authorities, one of the robots called out, "Damn, that escalated fast," Roshi stated as he momentarily stopped jumping to catch his breath. He only paused for a second though, as he had to continue dodging bullets. Pause song at 34 seconds. Schneeda's Company Factory 073353 overview floor. A young woman sighed as she tuned out the dull lecture of the man before her. The woman was dressed in a pale blue bowler jacket, which she wore over a similarly colored thigh-length dress with a piece of black lace making up the neckline of the dress. The inside of the bolero was red, and the sleeveless turned blue as they got closer to her wrists. The back of the bolero displayed the snake crest, which bore a resemblance to a symmetrical snowflake. She wore an apple-shaped necklace along with a pair of thin rectangular earrings. She wore white-heeled wedge boots that went to mid-calf, also lined with red on the inside. Her long white hair was pulled back in an off-center ponytail, at the base of which was a small tiara that resembled icicles. She had a pale complexion, ice blue eyes, and a crooked scar down her left eye. A strange rapier hung at her waist. This was Wai Schnee, younger daughter of Jack Schnee and heiress to the Schnee Dust Company. She was here on the orders of her father to check on one of the local factories, which bored her to no end. Her musings were broken by the sounds of an alarm going off. "What's going on?" Weiss asked. "Nothing to concern yourself with, Miss Schnee," the man stated. "Sir, there seems to be a thief in the factory," another man exclaimed as he ran up to his superior. "Alert the authorities," the first man ordered. "Already have, sir. They won't be here in time," the second man stated. "Let me handle this," Weiss stated. "But Miss Schnee," the first man started. "I said I will handle this," Weiss said, pulling out her weapon and going off after the thief with Roshi. Resume at 34 seconds. Roshi weaved in and out of the robots that blocked his path, destroying a few of them occasionally. He looked around for any way of escape and found a small open window. "Yes, just what I needed," Roshi exclaimed as he jumped atop one of the robot heads and used it to push off and jump through the window. Rain pounded against his coat as Roshi kept running until he came across a small bridge. A lamppost was to his right and train tracks were under the bridge. "Just where do you think you're going?" a voice called out. Roshi turned around to see Weiss standing a few meters away from him, her rapier drawn as she took a battle stance. "Well, Snow White," Roshi started, causing Weiss to get a tick mark at the nickname. "I'm going here," he yelled before jumping on a passing train. Weiss's eyes followed the retreating form of Roshi before she snapped out of her stupor and hopped on top of the train to pursue the monkey faunus. "Get back here, you no-good thief," Weiss exclaimed. "I'm not a no-good thief. A no-good thief would get caught. I'm a great thief," Roshi yelled. Before their argument could continue, a dozen faunus wearing strange white masks appeared, each having a White Fang insignia on their clothing. "White Fang, I knew you were in leagues with these scoundrels," Weiss exclaimed. "What the heck are you talking about? These people aren't with me, Roshi yelled over the sound of the train. So they aren't a part of your plan? Weiss asked. You mean they aren't a part of yours? Roshi questioned. No, Weiss said. We were just going to assault the train, one of the White Fang members stated, but having the heirs to the Schnee Dust Company appear, we'll be heroes even if we bring you back dead. Weiss's eyes narrowed as she raised the Mertonaster. You, fellow Faunus, will you join us? The White Fang member asked, pointing his sword towards Roshi. No, I'd rather help the damsel in distress, Roshi said. I'm not a damsel in distress, Weiss yelled. Shut up, I'm trying to save you, Roshi exclaimed. I don't need any saving, Weiss countered. Let's just kill them while they bicker, another White Fang member yelled before charging at Roshi, who, without even looking at his attacker, stabbed one of his gun knife hybrids into him and pulled the trigger, effectively knocking the bleeding Faunus back. I'm just saying, you look like you could use a hand, Roshi stated as he attacked another White Fang member. A third White Fang soldier charged at Weiss, who used her rapier to knock back said Faunus. I don't need help from a Faunus, Weiss exclaimed. You're freaking discriminatory, Roshi yelled. I'm a victim, Weiss stated. Oh ho ho, yeah right, you look just like a victim, Roshi said sarcastically as he stabbed another White Fang soldier. Just shut up, you don't know me, Weiss yelled before parrying another White Fang member. Well, you don't know me, so don't judge me just because I'm a Faunus, Roshi countered as he counterattacked another White Fang member. You can't just, Weiss started but was knocked back by a White Fang soldier. Ah! She yelled as she started falling off the train, only to be grabbed by a familiar hand. Looking up at the person who caught her, Weiss saw Roshi. Don't worry, I got you, Roshi exclaimed as he pulled up Weiss. I can't believe I'm actually going to say this to a Faunus, but thank you, Weiss said, turning her head away from the red-haired monkey Faunus. I can tell you're oh so grateful, Roshi deadpanned, his face dripping with sarcasm. That's all you'll ever get out of me, Weiss exclaimed, crossing her arms and turning her head away. That's what they all say, Roshi stated. Shut up, Weiss exclaimed. Roshi just shrugged his shoulders before going back over to the edge of the train. Well, it's been such pleasant company, Snow White, but I think it's time I take my leave, Roshi said, giving a thumbs up to Weiss. Until next time, he exclaimed before jumping off the speeding train. Weiss stared on indifferently, but felt a small tinge of sadness. Well, at least the heist was unsuccessful, Weiss said, focusing on the positive side of things. With Roshi ducked and rolled as he came closer to the ground after jumping off the train. Getting back up, Roshi brushed the dirt off his shoulders and watched the train go by. As soon as the train was out of his sight, a large grin appeared on Roshi's face. He quickly rushed into the nearby trees, heading so far that only other trees were visible for kilometers. Roshi stopped once he arrived at a clearing, catching his breath and patiently waiting. Suddenly, another Roshi appeared, hauling a familiar crate with him. A short nod of heads was given between the two before the Roshi that hauled the crate turned into a pile of mud. The original Roshi just grinned before going over to the crate, opening it up to reveal the same crate that he intended to steal before being caught. Can't out-trick the red monkey, Roshi said to himself as he began hauling the crate back to his temporary home. End of chapter 20.